Actually, go ahead and follow up on that.
Pardon me?
You can follow up on that. Take a minute.
The follow-up is real simple. Is there anybody in this room that doesn't know that the prohibition of the 20s was an utter social failure? What it did is it created a mafia, which we still live with today. What it did, it created disrespect for the law because they were making booze in the cellar of the Congress and in the Senate during the Prohibition. So tell me about, the law. No, it failed. Franklin Delano Roosevelt came in and he told the American people to solve the problem of the Depression, which is the same problem we have today, you have nothing to fear but fear itself. And then he did away with Prohibition. I become president, I will do away with the war on drugs. The war on drugs ravages the inner city and ravages the Indian reservations. Totally. And how do you end it? Well, first off, it's a public health problem. I read all of the issues that you're interested in legislatively. I can buy in and I could co-sponsor all of them. And one of them that particularly touches me, it's the amphetamine problem because it's a public health issue. It's not a criminal issue. Catching people violating this stuff and putting them in jail is absolutely abominable, and immoral in point of fact. Last year, we arrested in the United States of America 800,000 people for marijuana. And marijuana is no more addictive than gin or whiskey or booze, you name it. And so what are we doing to our young? What are we doing to our present? It's just terrible. And the answer is, I'm the only presidential candidate that's saying the obvious. The war on drugs has been a failure, and it's been going on for a generation, 25 years, and we're spending anywhere from $50 to $70 billion a year. You don't think that couldn't be used for all the good things you want? Health care, you name it. And yet we continue with this idiocy, and nobody in a position of leadership is prepared to step forward and do something about it. Please use your influence to get people to speak up on this issue. We must end the war on drugs, period.
Our next question comes from Chairman Matthew Franklin, the Ion Band, Milwaukee, California.
Good evening and welcome to our ancestral homeland. Hopefully you like that better. As you know, tribal members serve in the U.S. Armed Services at the highest per capita rate of any group of American citizens, serving in the government in every war since the Revolutionary War. Code talkers performed highly successful message transmissions during World War II and have received the richly deserved praises from everyone in the Department of Defense and Hollywood. Most recently in Iraq, the first American female soldier to die in combat was a member of the Hopi tribe. As president, what will you do for American soldiers, our esteemed military veterans, ones that have dedicated their lives to defending the American ideals?
That lady who died was Ms. Pietasqua. I'm not pronouncing it correctly. She was in Jessica Lynch's outfit, and she was the first one to die. What am I prepared to do for the veterans? The American government has always had a war against veterans. It goes back to the Revolutionary War, it goes back to the Civil War, First World War, the bonus march. There's a flaw in leadership thinking that all of a sudden, once they've served, once they come back crippled and deranged, that we don't see them anymore. We're going to go out for a happy land and make things that please us. And we don't spend enough money on them. It's not just money. It's a personal commitment that we all have. We have a debt to these people. And so, one, you could talk in terms of funding, but I like what Richardson said earlier, that he would fix it so that that if you're a vet, you can go to any hospital and get care. I get my meds, because I'm the only veteran running on the Democratic ticket. I get my meds from the VA. I have to go all the way across town. It's 3/4 of an hour trip. And so I really don't go often. But I do go because of my problems. And so I would say that it'd be a lot more convenient if I could go to my local hospital and get the same treatment. It might be a more efficient way to do it. And that's just one of the elements that would need to be done with respect to veterans. The biggest thing we have right now is this post-traumatic stress disorder. I saw a figure, and it's hard to believe, 500,000 Iraqi veterans have had to go to the VA with that disorder, and they've been recognized as having that disorder. Does that not tell you something about this terrible war wherein the people who've gone there come back morally disturbed, psychologically disturbed for what they've witnessed, what they've participated in, and that has to end. And I'll tell you, we can end that war right now with the Democrats in Congress. They choose not to do it for whatever reason. It'll be sad. I become president, I will end it. We can get them out there in 120 days. Don't let anybody tell you that it takes any more than that. And you have to understand, what you witness now is exactly déjà vu. For those of you that followed the Vietnam experience, this is a total replay of the Vietnam experience. And one of the reasons, and this is, I want to take the time to say that, one of the reasons why we've made this mistake again as a nation is because as a nation, we never owned up to the fact that we did wrong in Vietnam. In Vietnam, we had 3 million Southeast Asians who died in vain. We had 58,000 Americans who died in vain. Now, when I say died in vain, that doesn't dishonor their service. That dishonors the political leadership that brought that service and that crime about. And so now all I can say is we have people in Iraq, Americans and Iraqis, that are dying in vain, and this country has to own up to that moral responsibility, admit it as a nation. And how do you grow up as an individual? By admitting when you make a mistake. Do you think it's any different when we come together as a nation that we can't admit our mistakes? We make them over again when we can't admit them. I hope I've satisfied you with respect to my strong views about veterans.
Thank you.
And I want to just add, there'll be one person in Congress who will do honor to the veterans, because Diane over there is running for office because her son lost both legs in Iraq.
Senator, our last question is from Governor Everett Chavez of the Pueblo of Santo Domingo.
Good afternoon.
Thank you.
I'll cut to the chase. One of the things that has really been a concern, and that's the federal courts. We have just lost a lot of battles. We have problems at home, but when it gets to the federal courts as it relates to our valuable resources. And I think part of the reason is because there is no one of Native American descent that are sitting on these federal benches. I guess my question to you is, would you commit to making that change if you were to become president, not only at the federal court level, but even hypothetically, if someone in the near future leaves the Supreme Court, would you be willing to consider someone that is of Native American descent that can be more compassionate to these important court losses that we've been experiencing?
Let me ask you a question, because I've been out of circulation a little bit. That's the reason why I'm not so well known. Are you telling me that there's not an Indian or Native American that is a federal judge in this country?
Not that I'm aware of.
Zero.
Well, boy, that's horrific. That is horrific. But let me tell you the solution to the judiciary in this country. You know, they're all appointed for life. You know, and if you haven't heard the cliche that absolute power corrupts absolutely, I want to tell you it absolutely corrupts the American judiciary. If I've been to court, I'm not an attorney, thank God, but I've been to court pro se. But I got to tell you, you don't get justice in this country if you don't have any money. Now that's our judiciary, and it's something we have to acknowledge. I would like to see term limits on all members of the judiciary. With the Supreme Court, 12 years, you're out. Court of Appeals, 12 years, you're up or you're out. And federal courts, 12 years. Now, you're not going to see that. Congress isn't. But if you'll hearken my words, if you'll go and empower yourself as lawmakers, you put this before the American people, they'll vote for it in a heartbeat. They'll vote for it in a heartbeat. And you have to understand, well, I'll wait for my closing remarks. Well, as I'm green, I've got some time reserved. Well, she just went to yellow.